Hello and welcome to today's daily response video. I'm Zara, creative producer for People Make It Work, and today I'm joined by our associate, Kate Dore. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Zara.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you. Although I have to put my slippers on for the first time because it's a bit chilly.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit cold, not quite as warm as the weeks gone by. So Kate, you've had a really long-standing career, particularly with Yorkshire Art Space, but broader than that, could you tell us a little snapshot to your career background?
Career background, yes. Well, most of it has been with Yorkshire Art Space, as you can imagine, and I led on Yorkshire Art Space's two major capital developments and also on the neighbourhood studio developments as well. So it's mostly been about buildings and growing the organisation and establishing permanent and secure creative spaces for artists that are affordable and welcoming. So that was mostly what I was doing. And as part of that, I was a founder member of the National Federation of Artist Studio Providers, known rather clumsily as NFASP, but we never came up with a better name. Which was the first real gathering together of the studio providers across the UK to share experiences and advice and just get to know each other. Lots of amazing visits from Glasgow down to Plymouth. And also when I was at Yorkshire Art Space, I was a founder member of the Sheffield Culture Consortium, which was made up of the main cultural organisations in the city working together collectively on bigger cultural programming and projects for the city.
And you're bringing your experience and expertise into now a consultant's associate with People Make It Work. And currently, over the last 12 weeks, People Make It Work have been running daily surgeries for arts industry, culture industry to drop into. And you've run two of these surgeries really successfully for artist studios at this time. Could you tell us a little bit more about what's been arising from those sessions?
Yes, they've been really the two big highlights of lockdown for me. I think having people together in a virtual room, sharing advice and telling their stories, a lot of which are very positive, you know, that there are difficulties, but there's some amazingly positive stories out there. It's just been really, two really heartwarming hours of my lockdown life. It's been talking about nitty-gritty, like the small business grants, which a lot of the studios have benefited from, to the difficulties that artists are experiencing and worries about whether they're going to be able to keep affording their studios. We've gone into everything, but at the end of every hour, everyone's felt very genuinely uplifted. And it reminded me a lot of the old days of the National Federation of Studio Providers, where we didn't always have the answers to everything, but knowing that other people had the same questions was incredibly. It was just good for your soul, really.
And do you have any actions coming out of what you have heard, or do you want to share a little bit more about what you've heard through those sessions and any key actions that you have supported the studios with at this time?
I think, well, the biggest conversation, or the biggest issue that's come through has been the difference between studios that do have, it's all about business rates, which I know not a lot of people get very excited about business rates, but it's incredibly important, is that if you run a studio complex and the studios are individually rated, nearly always the artist won't have to pay any business rates because there's a certain size of space below which you don't have to pay business rates. But that means that they are eligible for the £10,000 grant that the government is offering. And if you know anything about artists' average annual income, a £10,000 grant to each studio in a studio complex is an astonishing amount of money. And we've heard really good stories of artists saying, well, actually what I'd like to do is I'd like to pay my rent for a year up front. So the studio organisation knows that its future is stable. There have been studio organisations that have been offering rent holidays, and some of the artists, 61% in one instance, have said, well, no, I want to carry on paying my rent because I want to make sure that the studios are here, for the next year and for artists in the future. So I think those small business grants have been absolutely transformative to a lot of the artists and a lot of the studios that are rated in that way. If you aren't rated in that way, if you're just rated as an organisation running a building, then there isn't anything available to the artist or the organisation usually. So there's very much a sort of a very positive picture and a less positive picture depending on that very technical way that the business rates are collected.
Mm-hmm.
That which doesn't sound very exciting, but that's if you run an artist studio, that is a transformative, potentially a transformative issue. So that's what we've been talking about, and how difficult it is for the artists and how difficult it is for the people who have to listen to, how difficult it is for the artists. And there's been a lot of supportive conversations between studio providers within the surgery sessions and afterwards as well. It's just been very, because nobody could see, this wasn't in anybody's risk assessment. I mean, I've been doing risk assessments for Yorkshire Art Space for decades. A major pandemic is never on anybody's risk assessment in the artist studio sector. So it was just we just didn't know what was coming. So I think being able to share what we've been experiencing together has been a really interesting thing to do.
Yeah. And something that's made me think of as well is that it's okay to ask for support. It's okay to seek support. And obviously the surgeries with you is a way of being able to find out, and speak to other studios about what they're doing so that we can learn from each other, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was always the great joy of the National Federation, was it wasn't all about answers. Sometimes it was about answers and advice, but a lot of it was just about a mutually supportive situation.
Yeah. Can you give us an action that's arising from those?
An action.
Yeah, an action.
People are saying that wouldn't it be great because the National Federation had to wind up because it lost its funding. And the trustees, we tried to keep it going for a while, but in the format that it was, we weren't really able to, it just didn't work really. But people who are coming to surgery sessions were saying, wouldn't it be great if we had a virtual National Federation for Artist Studio Providers that just met in a similar way on a regular basis, just to share insights and mutual support. And I think that would be a fantastic outcome.
Yeah. Could you, is there anything that you would like to leave us with today? Is there any reflection from the past weeks that you'd like to leave us with?
I've got a fantastic one that I've just pinched directly from my daughter. It's when I told her I hadn't got any insights. She's very insightful. And she just said that she's 19. She had her first year of university cut short. She says the amount of creative things that she and her friends are doing in lockdown is astonishing. And I'm seeing that in my friends and people I know and people on social media. And I think that incredible outflowing of creativity during lockdown, I think may fundamentally change the relationship between audiences and creative producers, because I think the audiences are now nearly all creative producers themselves. And I think that relationship, that change in the dynamic of the relationship could be a hugely positive thing to come out of all of this.
I love that. Kate, thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. And I would urge you to join Kate at a surgery session really soon. You can find out when she will be hosting one on the homepage of our website. There is a schedule for the upcoming surgeries. So Kate, thank you and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Bye.